on 1967 borders, the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem as its capital. In his speech, Abbas reminded the world of Israel's racist and genocidal policies. He emphasized Israel's unwillingness to actually participate in the peace process as evidenced by the continued building and expansion of settlements in the West Bank. In the past 20 years, the number of Israeli settlers living on stolen Palestinian land in the West Bank has tripled, from 200,000 to 600,000. The only condition the Palestinians requested prior to negotiations was a halt to the settlements, which of course Israel refused. However, Israel continues to complain that it wants peace but cannot find a partner and that the Palestinians do not want to cooperate. That false accusation can easily be disproved by the simple mention of the Palestine Papers. An embarrassing leakage of documents by Al Jazeera revealed the PA's concession on virtually every single issue, or roadblocks to peace, as Israel puts it. Under Israel's demands, a Palestinian state would be much like a prison. In a prison, 95% of the population, the prisoners, or in this case the Palestinians, take up the most space available. Although they are the smaller portion, the guards, or Israel, constitute 5% of the population and control when the prisoners can leave their cells, eat, shower, etc. Israel's conditions include control over airspace, water resources, and borders. They would be allowed to keep their settlements in the West Bank. Palestine's capital could not be East Jerusalem, and Palestinians in the diaspora would have no right to return. Not much would change from the current living conditions of Palestinians. Gaza is often described as the world's largest open-air prison, and anyone who has been to the West Bank can describe the difficulty of traveling, not to mention the apartheid wall that snakes through the territory, encircling villages, crippling daily activities. Despite the PA's willingness to negotiate away the most crucial aspects of a state, and the heart of the plight of the Palestinian people, the right of return for refugees, Israel again refused to cooperate in the peace process. This was the main reason that compelled Abbas to submit the bid for a formal Palestinian state to the UN General Assembly. Obama rejected Abbas's bid for statehood before he even submitted it. That the US response to the application for statehood could have serious implications for its relations with the Arab world points to the main reason why the Obama administration and its allies brought such enormous pressure to bear on the PA and Abbas not to go through with its application. Since the bid application, much of the PA's foreign aid has been cut. The bid for recognition as a state by the UN comes in a year of mass upheavals across the Arab world. Washington is deeply worried about how the veto of the Palestinian application will impact US attempts to manage the crisis there. The Palestinian struggle is deeply felt by people across the region and throughout most of the world, especially in the oppressed countries which suffer under colonialism and see Israel as a blatant example of the continuation of European colonialist rule. The standing ovations and cheers were not so much for Abbas as an individual, but an expression of the broad and deep international support of the Palestinian people. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke after Abbas, attempting to reason with what he says is the truth of what Israel deals with having Palestinians as their neighbors. He said a Palestinian state could only be possible until there was peace. Once there was peace, the state could be created, but only by Israel's terms. He urged the UNGA not to recognize a Palestinian state because of the grave danger it puts Israel in. Palestinians in the West Bank, Gaza, and in the diaspora have mixed opinions on Abbas's bid, the two-state solution, and the one-state solution. There is no doubt that regardless of opinion, political parties and the population of Palestinians in general are determined to have an independent state somehow. Abbas and the PA's final goal is to have Palestine as a separate state, something that will be in the PA's legacy throughout history. Another perspective taken by the more progressive forces in the Palestinian movement is that it could be a step toward the liberation of Palestine as a whole and the establishment of a democratic state with equal rights for all, in place of the present racist and exclusionary Zionist state. The many arguments against the two-state solution include the prison example I used earlier, the revocation of the right of return for refugees, and the fact that Palestinians will not inhabit the entire West Bank. The settlements will remain, as a result, creating Bantustans for Palestinians rather than a whole independent state. The Party for Socialism and Liberation fully supports the Palestinian right to self-determination. The right of return for refugees is non-negotiable, and any plans for a Palestinian state should be centered on it. A one-state solution where Palestinians have equal rights is ideal. We demand a halt to the billions of dollars of military aid that flow to Israel every year. We know that nothing that U.S. imperialism does in the Middle East serves any purpose other than profit and empire. Hassan Kanafani, martyred political activist and spokesperson for the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, once wrote, "I will return to my land and make it my heaven, or I will bring heaven from the sky and we will die together." This short sentence embodies the struggle Palestinians have gone through and continue to engage in fighting for an unoccupied homeland. Recognition of a state through the UN would not legitimize Palestine the same way the people themselves already have. I would like to end by reading some of Mahmoud Abbas's speech, not because I support him, but because his words are legitimate despite a record of collaboration with Israel and U.S. imperialism. At a time when the Arab peoples affirm their quest for democracy, the Arab Spring, the time is now for the Palestinian Spring, the time for independence. The time has come for our men, women, and children to live normal lives, for them to be able to sleep without waiting for the worst that the next day will bring, for mothers to be assured that their children will return home without fear of suffering, killing, arrest, or humiliation, for students to be able to go to their school and universities without checkpoints obstructing them. The time has come for sick people to be able to reach hospitals normally, and for our farmers to be able to take care of their good land without fear of the occupation seizing the land and its water, which the wall prevents access to, or fear of the settlers, for whom settlements are being built on our land and who are uprooting and burning the olive trees that have existed for hundreds of years. The time has come for the thousands of prisoners to be released from the prisons, to return them to their families and their children, to become a part of building their homeland, for the freedom of which they have sacrificed. My people desire to exercise their right to enjoy a normal life like the rest of humanity. They believe what the great poet Mahmoud Darwish said, "Standing here, staying here, permanent here, eternal here, and we have one goal, one, to be here."